What if I told you the way you're drinking your morning coffee right now may be quietly accelerating aging inside your body? But with one small addition, that same cup could begin shifting your biology in the opposite direction. And I don't mean in a vague motivational way. I mean at the level of your stem cells, your metabolism, and the internal signals that decide whether your body burns fat or stores it. Now listen carefully, because after the age of 50, your morning coffee is no longer just a habit. It becomes a daily biological signal. Over 60% of adults drink coffee every single day, but very few realize this. The same cup that helps you wake up can also influence inflammation, blood sugar, and even how efficiently your body repairs itself. And here's where things quietly change after 50. Your cells don't respond the same way they used to. Inflammation rises more easily, blood sugar becomes less stable, and your internal repair systems slow down. So the question is no longer whether you should drink coffee. The real question is, are you drinking it in a way that supports your body or quietly works against it? Because what I'm about to show you is not a trend. It's a biological shift that happens inside your body every single morning. And it starts with something most people never think about: your stem cells. Inside your body, you have a built-in repair system. Stem cells are like your internal maintenance crew. When something wears down, when tissue is damaged, when cells become old or dysfunctional, stem cells are supposed to step in and help repair the system. In younger years, this process is fast and efficient, but after 50, something changes. Not because your body suddenly loses all its stem cells, but because the environment those cells depend on becomes less supportive. And the biggest reason is not aging alone. It's chronic low-grade inflammation. Not the kind of inflammation you feel when you get injured. That type is helpful. This is the silent kind. The kind that stays active in the background for years, like a fire alarm that never turns off. And over time, that constant signal begins to disrupt how stem cells function. They don't disappear, but they become less responsive, less efficient, slower to act. And when that happens, your body starts to feel it everywhere. Recovery slows down, energy drops, and resilience decreases. But that's only part of the story, because this same inflammatory environment also affects something else that becomes critical after 50, your metabolism. Now let's connect something most people never connect. When your body becomes inflamed at a low level for long periods of time, it starts interfering with how you process energy. This is where insulin comes in. Insulin is the hormone that moves sugar from your blood into your cells. Think of it like a key that opens the door to energy. But over time, especially with inflammation and aging, those doors start to respond less efficiently. This is called insulin resistance. So your body produces more insulin just to get the same result. And here's what most people don't realize. High insulin doesn't just control sugar. It also sends a very strong biological message: store fat. So now you have a system where sugar is harder to regulate, fat is easier to store, and energy becomes less stable. And that leads to a cycle most people recognize: weight gain around the belly, energy crashes after meals, constant fatigue. But underneath all of that, there is a deeper loop happening. Inflammation worsens insulin resistance. Insulin resistance increases fat storage, and fat tissue itself releases more inflammatory signals, a cycle that reinforces itself over time. And this is why many people say, "I'm not eating more, but I'm gaining weight. I feel slower than I used to. My body just doesn't respond the same." Because biologically, it doesn't. But here's where this becomes interesting. Because your morning coffee can influence this system more than you think. Coffee itself contains powerful compounds. Caffeine can increase thermogenesis, your body's heat production, and it can support lipolysis, the breakdown of stored fat. So yes, coffee can support fat burning, but there's a catch. If your blood sugar is already unstable or your insulin levels are already elevated, coffee alone can sometimes amplify stress signals in the body, especially by increasing cortisol in sensitive individuals. So instead of balancing your system, it can sometimes add pressure to an already overloaded metabolism. And this is exactly why what you add to your coffee becomes important, because certain natural compounds can shift the entire internal response, not by forcing change, but by supporting balance. Now let's talk about something that sounds simple, but has powerful metabolic effects. Cinnamon, especially Ceylon cinnamon. Inside cinnamon is a compound called cinnamaldehyde, and research has shown that it may help improve insulin sensitivity, which means your cells respond better to insulin. And when that happens, your body doesn't need to produce as much of it. And that is a key turning point, because when insulin levels become more balanced, the fat storage signal begins to quiet down. At the same time, blood sugar becomes more stable, energy levels become more consistent, and metabolic stress begins to decrease. And when metabolic stress decreases, inflammation often begins to reduce as well. Not overnight, but gradually. And this is where everything we talked about earlier begins to connect, because lower inflammation supports better stem cell function, improved recovery, and a more stable internal environment overall. Not by activating anything directly, but by removing the pressure that keeps systems suppressed. Now here's how simple this actually is. 1 cup of coffee. Add 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. That's it. No extreme routine, no complicated protocol. Just a small adjustment repeated daily. Some people also add a pinch of turmeric with black pepper, which contains curcumin, a compound studied for its anti-inflammatory pathways. But cinnamon is the most practical starting point. Now listen carefully, because this is where most people get it wrong. More is not better. This is not about intensity, it is about consistency. And there are a few important mistakes to avoid. First, not all cinnamon is the same. Cassia cinnamon is common, but it contains higher levels of coumarin, which in large amounts may stress the liver. Ceylon cinnamon is the safer long-term choice. Second, do not overuse it. 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon daily is enough. More does not increase benefits. Third, be cautious if you are diabetic or on blood sugar medication, because improving insulin sensitivity can affect glucose levels and should be monitored with your healthcare provider. And fourth, avoid turning your coffee into a sugar delivery system, because sugar and syrups can completely cancel the metabolic benefits. Now let's bring everything together. What we're really talking about is not coffee. It's the internal environment of aging. After 50, your body does not usually fail because of one major problem. It shifts because multiple small systems begin to drift. Repair slows, metabolism becomes less flexible, inflammation becomes more persistent. But the important truth is this: that environment is not fixed. It is influenced daily. And one of the most consistent signals your body receives is your morning coffee. So when you add something like cinnamon, you are not performing a miracle. You are gently shifting the biological conditions your body operates in. And over time, that may support steadier energy, improved metabolic balance, and better overall resilience. Not instantly, but gradually and consistently. So let me ask you this. Have you been drinking coffee every day without realizing what it's doing inside your body? And what would change if that same habit was slightly adjusted to support your metabolism instead of stressing it? If you found this useful, comment below and tell me. Coffee, and share what you currently add to it. I read your comments, and I'm genuinely interested in what people are doing in real life. And if you want more science-based conversations like this, make sure you subscribe, because sometimes the biggest improvements don't come from doing more. They come from understanding what your body has been responding to all along, and adjusting it just enough to change the direction. See you in the next video.